All right, so let's talk about interior angle sum and base angles for triangles. Now, a general rule that hopefully you remember is that the interior angles, so those are the angles inside a triangle, you see them marked in green, red, and blue here, they always add up to 180 degrees. So whenever you know two of them, you can plug them into this equation and solve for the third. Another interesting fact that we'll use for isosceles triangles is just that the angle that is possibly unique is called the vertex angle, and then the angles that are connected to the base of the isosceles triangle are called base angles, and the base angles are always congruent to one another. Okay, let's work a few examples. Let's look at what we have here. I see here we have a triangle, which is isosceles. We know it's isosceles because we have these two tick marks, and those two tick marks say that those two sides are congruent, which also means that these two angles are congruent. Now, if those two angles are congruent, and we know that this angle is 78 degrees, and I can say, well, I already knew angle y plus angle z plus 78 degrees was equal to 180. However, angle y and angle z are the same thing. So I could change this to angle y plus angle y plus 78 equals 180. Now we have two angle y's, so let's just say 2 angle y plus 78 degrees equals 180. So let's go ahead and subtract 78 from each side. That's going to give us 2 angle y's is equal to 102 divide by 2 on each side, and angle y is equal to 51 degrees. That's how we're going to tackle problems like this. Now let's look at this second example. Again, we have an isosceles triangle. Again, we know one of the angles, so we need to find our other angle, and we're going to set up an equation the exact same way. We'll add up all of our sides. Sorry, not add up all of our sides, add up all of our angles. So angle y plus angle z plus 148 degrees equals 180. Okay, subtract. Let's do substitution first. We know z and y are the same because this is an isosceles triangle. So this is angle y. This is still angle y. Everything else stays the same. Go ahead and subtract that 148. I'm going to go and combine like terms just to save myself a little bit of work. Y plus y is going to give me 2 angle y's. Then we got 180 minus 148 is going to give me 32. Divide each side by 2. I'm running out of space, so I'm going to write my answer over here. Angle y is equal to 16 degrees. Okay, so given an isosceles triangle, this is how we're going to solve for one of the base angles. Okay, now this one, do we know it's isosceles? Well, we don't because I don't see any congruent marks, so all I can say is, hey, it's a triangle, the interior angles add up to 180. So I know that 84 plus 47 plus mystery equals 180. Let's go ahead and combine like terms. 84 plus 47 is 131. Plus your question equals 180. Minus that 131 from each side. And that's going to give us 49. Hey, that's our answer. That mystery angle is 49 degrees. Okay, let's look at this one. Do we have an isosceles triangle? We do. Now, we don't know anything about this. Very sad. But we do know that this angle is congruent to this angle. Now, if two things are congruent, if they are the same, can we set them equal to each other? Yes, we can. So we're going to take that 8x plus 78. We're going to set it equal to 9x plus 81. Okay, let's go ahead and combine some like terms. I'll minus 8x from this side first. So I'll have 78 is equal to 9x minus 8x is just 1x left over, plus 81. Let's go ahead and minus 81. Looks like we're going to have a negative x value. And x is going to be equal to negative 3. Okay, so that's our x value, but our question said, find the measure of angle A. Well, angle A is right here. So if I want to find the measure of angle A, I'm going to have to plug in this x value into angle A. So we'll have 8 times negative 3 plus 78. 8 times negative 3 is negative 24 plus 78. It's going to give me a positive 54 degrees. There we go. Let's look at another one. Now, this problem, it tells us that it's an equiangular triangle. Now, an equiangular triangle is a triangle. All the angles are congruent. Now, if all the angles are congruent, another thing we actually know, all the sides are congruent. Every equiangular triangle is an equilateral triangle. So if this is an equilateral triangle, that means that this side is congruent to this side. And if those two sides are congruent, we can set them equal to each other. 13y minus 9 equals 8y plus 11. So let's go ahead and subtract 8y. 13y minus 8y is 5y. Minus 9 equals 11, plus 9 to each side. And 5y is equal to 20. Divide by 5, divide by 5. Y equals 4. So this says, find the measure of angle J. Now, if we're looking at this, I see these two tick marks, which means those two sides are congruent. If those two sides are congruent, I know I'm dealing with an isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangles have congruent base angles. So I know that those two angles are congruent. Two things are congruent. I can set them equal to each other. 8x plus 102 equals 10x plus 110. Let's go ahead and combine like terms. Minus 8x minus 8x. 102 equals 2x plus 110 minus 110 minus 110. 102 minus 110 is negative 8 equals 2x. Okay, divide by 2 on each side. Negative 4 is equal to x. Okay, that was the x value. I want to find the measure of angle J. Weird that it wasn't writing right there. So I'm going to take that negative 4. I'm going to plug it in to angle J. So I'll have 8 times negative 4 plus 102. So I'll have negative 32 plus 102. Well, negative 32 plus 102 is 70 degrees. All right. Now let's look at this one. We don't know anything about it. We don't have any tick marks. I don't have any right angle marks, but I know it's a triangle, and all triangles add up to 180 degrees on their interior angles. So I can go ahead and take my 7a plus 16 plus 3a plus 8 plus 3a plus 13, and that equals 180 degrees. Now I'm going to combine like terms. So I have 7a, 3a, and 3a. That gives me a total of 13a. I also have 16, 8, and 13. Altogether, that is going to give me, let's see, 16 plus 8 is 24. 24 plus 13 is 37. 37. And that's going to be equal to 180 still. Let's go ahead and subtract 37 from each side. 13a is equal to 143. Yep. Divide each side by 13. And a is equal to, see, 13 times 11. So if a is equal to 11 now, the question is asking us to find the measure of QRS. Let's go ahead and trace that out. QRS. Okay, so that's this angle. So I need to plug 11 into this angle. Make sure you're checking. Trace out the angle so you're plugging it into the right angle. So we'll have 7 times 11 16. So we'll have 77 plus 16. 77 plus 16 is 93. Oh, it also wants us to find SQR. Oops, excuse me. And SQR, S to Q to R, well, that would be right here. So I'd take my 3 times 11 plus 8. That'd be 33 plus 8, which would give me 41. That would be my measure for SQR. All right, now this one is actually going to take a little bit of talking about first. So it says, what is the value of x? Your answer can be in rounded to the, you can be an exact or rounded to the nearest tenth. Now, we notice that on this problem, there's an angle outside the triangle, which means we need to cover something new. We need to cover what is called the exterior angle theorem. Simply put, we know that everything inside a triangle adds up to 180, right? So if I took, say, A plus B plus C, those would equal 180. But if I also extended this line and wrote angle D, well, then right here I have a linear pair. And I know D plus C would equal 180. Now, if we look at this for a second, we notice that this is the same. C plus A and B equals 180, and C plus D equals 180. So if two things added to the same thing equal 180, does that mean those two things are the same? Well, if we actually use the transitive property of equality, that is true, which means that A plus B equals D, which is very useful whenever we have two angles and an exterior angle not attached to them. like these two angles and the exterior angle not attached to them, we know that the sum of those two interior angles is equal to the exterior angle. So what we can do is we can say 42 plus 105 is equal to negative 3x plus 10. Okay, now let's go ahead and solve. 42 plus 105 is 147. Negative 3x plus 10 minus 10 minus 10. So we have 137 equals negative 3x. Okay, let's go ahead and divide by negative 3. And that is going to give us, 3 doesn't go evenly into that number. That's too bad. Guess we'll have to round. All right, so according to this, x is going to be equal to 4 point, oops, sorry, not 4 point yet. I apologize. Let's see, we go in 4 times, then we'll have 1 left over, so 45. And we'll have 2 left over, 0.66666. Okay, and it said round to the nearest tenth, so we're going to look at our tenths place, which is a 6, and next to our tenths place is another 6. Will the 6 in the hundredths place make the 6 in the 10th place round up? And it will. So the answer we're going to put in is 45.7. That's how we're going to solve for x. Remember, the sum of the two interior angles, the ones inside, you add up, and you set it equal to the one outside. Okay, now we're given a word problem, no pictures. It says, in triangle QRS, the measure of angle Q is 5 less than the measure of angle R, and the measure of angle S is 7 less than the measure of angle R. Find the measure of each angle. Ooh, this is a setting up a system of equations question. So, first equation is given us right here. It says Q is 5 less than the measure of R. So Q is equal to R minus 5. And it says S is 7 less than the measure of R. So S equals, 7 less than the measure of R would be R minus 7. And then I'm going to use the reflexive property to write a third equation. R is equal to the measure of R. Now, what do we know about all three of our angles? Well, they're inside of a triangle, so altogether, these are going to add 180. So we will have R minus 5 plus R minus 7 plus R equals 180 degrees. Let's combine like terms. I have 1, 2, 3 R's. And negative 5 plus negative 7 is negative 12. Equals 180. Let's go ahead and add. 3R is equal to 192. Divide each side by 3. And R is going to be equal to 64. So we can go ahead and plug that in right here. Okay, now we're going to use our other equations in order to solve. So I'm going to put a 64 in for Q. So 64 minus 5. And that's going to give me that Q's value is 59. And I can Solve for S as well, doing the same thing. 64 minus 7, which is 57 degrees. Okay? Make sure you're setting up your equation where it's all in terms of one angle. Notice for this one, we put it all in terms of R. All right, so we're going to try and find the requested values, in this case, V. Now I see a right angle right here. That's nice. We haven't seen one of those today. So if it's a right angle, we know it's 90 degrees. So we can add all these up now and set it equal to 180. 90 plus 37 plus 6V minus 13 equals 180. So 90 plus 37 minus 13, let's add all of those up. We get 6V plus 114 equals 180. So that's minus 114. We get 6V equals, what is that? 66. Oh, that's nice. Divide by 6. Divide by 6. V equals 11. We're also asked to find the measure of NQP. Well, if I trace this out, NQP is this angle, so you plug V in. We've done plenty of substitution today, so I'm not going to be doing that one as well. Find the requested values. Again, this is the same kind of situation where we take 39 plus 66 plus 7Z minus 9, set it equal to 180, and solve. We just did that, so I'm not going to do that again. And then ACB, A to C to B would be this. Now, one thing I will point out to you is if, say, you were having trouble with this algebra, and you wanted to at least find this angle measure, you don't actually need to know the value of Z, because you know that 66 plus 39 plus the measure of ACB equals 180. So 66 plus 39 is 105 plus ACB equals 180 minus 105 on each side. Measure of ACB equals 75 degrees. It's our sum of interior angles and exterior angles triangle exercises.